Welcome boys and girls, Costin here with a discussion about Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. It is day 5 of the firestorm that has engulfed Creative Assembly, the player base, Reddit, Discord, social media in general, is everywhere related to Total War. Is absolutely something a lot of us didn't expect. Personally, I expected a quiet October, then the release of Tides of Torment at the end of the month, maybe trailer middle of the month. That was my personal expectation. I was going to play some Age of Mythology, chill out, maybe some other games. That was my view. To be certain, it hasn't been a good year for content creators focused on Total War. Great Book of Grudges made a video on this. But everything blowing up like this is absolutely unexpected. There are several reasons for that, but if we look currently on Steam, we can see that in the last period, we've gotten 1,300 overwhelmingly negative reviews. Only 9% are positive reviews, and I'm sure that percentage is going to shrink. And this is unexpected. And this is just the last couple of days. It's mostly negative now, but that's counting the entire month, or the last period, right? If we only look at October, it would be overwhelmingly negative. And if we look at Shadows of Change, we had like 6K negative reviews, but that was the entire month, or rather from August 8th until the end of the month, because that's when we got the price for Shadows of Change. And that sparked the rebellion in the community back then. And even the release of Realms of Chaos had 8K negative reviews. We're on track of getting something like 400 plus negative reviews per day until the end of the month. Now, I'm sure you can do the math of that, but let me be clear, that will surpass the initial negative reaction of Realms of Chaos. And keep in mind, when Realms of Chaos launched, there were a lot of positive reviews, so it wasn't overwhelmingly negative. It was more positive than negative at the time. So this is worse than Shadows of Change. This is worse than the release of Realms of Chaos. And one of the things to mention about Realms of Chaos was not merely an issue in itself. It was the prelude to what would happen in a couple of months after it came out. So Shadows of Change came out late August, basically September, beginning of September. Then we had Pharaoh. Then we had the cancellation of Hyenas. So it's prelude. And I mentioned this, and I mentioned it specifically to CA if any of them are watching, and I do think some of them at the very least are watching. What happened with Hyenas? You don't want to go for that again. I think that's a very clear statement that everyone would understand. Because Shadows of Change was pretty bad for them, but CA was banking on Hyenas. So right now, we're looking at another prelude to something getting worse for Creative Assembly. And the consequences of Pharaoh, Hyenas, and SOC together, the triple disaster, were such that at least 50% of developers from the company were let go, were fired by Sega. And it might have been even 3/4 of all CA employees let go by Sega, by CA. So I don't think anyone in Creative Assembly in Creative Assembly at this point wants that to happen again. So I would say they need to handle this well. But the thing is, the recent firestorm is kind of their own doing. And not just because of the last 3 years, not just because of everything that's happened since Immortal Empires came out, but also what CA did a couple of days ago. See, after Legend made his video, but before he made his post, things were already blowing up after the video. After he made this post, I originally said that was nuclear, but I may have been wrong on that. Legend may have poured gasoline on the fire, but he didn't reach for the atomic weapon. CA kind of reached for that, or CA delivered that to the community on Reddit, because CA made this post. It doesn't matter who made this post, and I can understand the logic of it. Because, see, the current expectation is that we will target delivery of the specific fix, talking about AI issues, later this month with the release of 7.0. When I read that section specifically of targeting it with the release of 7.0, which they have stated multiple times it will be by the end of October, that's when things went nuclear. Because it was someone from Creative Assembly telling the community, yeah, we know this is an issue, we're going to fix it, it's going to be 7.0, it's going to be end of the month. Problem was that doing so in this way was telling people, was literally giving the drunk president an atomic weapon, the atomic bomb. Because people were already primed to be angry at Creative Assembly with everything that happened. Legend had lit the fire. CA just went much further. Now, I understand the intent behind that message. I'm not blaming the person who made that message, because CA has stated repeatedly, we're aware it's an issue, we're going to try and fix it with Tides of Torment. They've stated that before, so that was just repetition of what they had already stated. Problem was, Reddit and social media is a nasty business. And I can't believe I'm using a quote from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which was about war to talk about social media. But it is a nasty business. It's a nasty business because people are already angry, and that just riled them up further. There's a reason why I think we have gotten radio silence since then from CA. If I was in CA's position, I would not have made that post. Look, I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I spend a lot of time on social media. It's my job. And the best way to do this job is not to feel you have to respond to everything, or if you're going to respond to everything, you should kind of know in advance how things are going to play out. And that's what I would have told CA. Don't do it, or if you're going to do it in this way. Say, we're aware of the issue, we're working on it, we will deliver, we're busting our balls on it. It wouldn't have doused the fire, but it wouldn't have escalated things. Giving a specific timeline by the end of the month for, a promise, quote unquote, that we're going to fix it until then is not solving the issue. It's giving the drunk president an atomic weapon, the drunk president being Reddit in this example. So it is a nasty business. I understand that. I understand the logic, but I don't think they handled that especially well. Now, what can they do going forward is the big question. And that's what I really want to talk about in this video. Well, I think there's no easy way for Creative Assembly to put out the firestorm that has already started. Releasing a hotfix won't do it. Releasing a trailer won't do it. I think they need to let it burn for a while until it consumes itself. Obviously, if they had the patch ready to go, that would fix a lot of issues with the game, and a promise, a clear and cut promise that they would do much better, putting more resources, more developers, that would help things. But you gotta wait a while at least on that. And I don't think they are ready to release anything. So if Creative Assembly, however, just releases a trailer for Tides of Torment, that would be a monumental disaster from my perspective, because it would be tone deaf, if you want to use that term. I just think that if anyone believes in CA that releasing that trailer is going to go down well with the community right now, they're not understanding that would enrage people further. Those 1.3k negative reviews would turn into 2.6k overnight, and that video would be hammered easily within the first 24 hours. That is my perspective. For the record, I never wanted any of this to happen. Again, just not a fan of what's been going on. I understand why it's going on, and in a way, I'm happy that finally people are stepping up. I actually am, but I would have preferred things to go down a better way. That's what I've stated from the moment this started. I understand why it's happening. I agree with a lot of the issues people bring up, but I wish it hadn't happened like this. My hope was things would go different. Like, we'd get Tides of Torment, we'd get End Times, we'd get 40k, things would develop in the right direction. That's genuinely what I hoped for. So yeah, this was unexpected, to say the least. So they better tread carefully with patches, announcements, public statements on that. Just be smart. You're going to take a hit regardless of what you're going to say. be prepared for that. There's going to be people trying to twist your words. There's going to be people trying to manipulate things. That's how social media works. And you need to know that in advance. Like when I put out a video or a post, I kind of know how people are going to react to it. And it's easy to fall into the trap of like always reacting and, to things. You got to be proactive, not reactive. And I think that's the big thing I would tell CA at this point. Stop reacting to everything that's going on. Have a plan. Be proactive. Now, that's simple to say. How could they do that as a company? Well, first off, as I've stated before, they do need more resources on Warhammer 3. They need to make it clear that they have more resources on Warhammer 3. An apology could go a long way, CA. I'm just saying it. Don't be ashamed of ever apologizing when you fucked up, because you did fuck up. You know you fucked up. Apologizing to the community. You did that before. It did work out well for you. Let's just say that. Remember, that's what happened in late 2023, before Thrones of Decay. That did help. But let the fire burn first off, then apologize, issue a statement, all that, and show people you care, right? Show people that you're working on cool stuff and all that. That would be one perspective. But beyond that, CA needs to change their entire strategy. Beyond resources and public statements, etc., they need to do things differently. And my view on this, and I've stated before, I've attached it to my post on core issues. They need someone in charge, someone with an actual mandate, with an actual authority that could do things better. An example I've given before, and I'll give it again because it's really good. Back in 2008, Blizzard hired Greg Street, Ghostcrawler, and put him in charge of essentially class balance, class design. Now, there were many issues in World of Warcraft after that point, with Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, etc. But after Ghostcrawler came onto the scene, things did get better. I don't think anyone, or very few people, would say that Ghostcrawler did a bad job. There are things that they would criticize about Ghostcrawler based on other things, certain other controversies not related to actually what he did in his job. Well, kind of. And that's a whole discussion. But Ghostcrawler was very talented, a developer, a team leader. I think he was in charge of everything related to that. And he did communicate directly with the community. He was there in those trenches. He was on social media. He was on the forums. He was constantly talking with people. And some people will argue, social media has gotten much worse. In some ways it has, but the WoW community was perfectly willing to rip people to shreds from Blizzard back then. That hasn't changed. Sure, it might have gotten worse, but there was certainly a lot of hostility. Certainly, I think Ghostcrawler handled that situation very well in multiple ways, and it wasn't necessarily that Ghostcrawler was able to deliver everything people asked. It was more so that players, fans believed things were working in the right direction. I have many issues with Wrath of the Lich King, but that was one of the selling points: class design, class balance. No one who's played WoW can say that class balance and design wasn't much better. So my point is, Blizzard created a process to improve things. Now, that process, and this is where I'm getting to, that process isn't being reactive to what's being said on social media. That process doesn't involve deciding what they're going to fix and how they're going to fix it based on Reddit upvotes. Reddit is maybe 1K active users constantly posting, upvoting, all that. I don't think there's any Reddit post in Total War Reddit that gets more like than 1K interactions, upvotes, downvotes. You cannot design a game based on Reddit committee. It would be stupid. Now, some people will argue, they should do things like that. I've argued this. Sure. But I think people arguing should always understand it's not about CA implementing our vision. I've made a lengthy post on it. I've made many videos. And I've stated this very clearly every single time. It's not about CA doing exactly what I want. It's more so highlighting the issues as I see them. And it's their jobs as developers with a mandate, with resources to fix them. So it's that process, being aware of the issues, being aware of what's happening, being aware of what community is talking. Being aware is important, and engaging with community, because even if they don't have the right solutions, more often than not, they don't, but they can highlight issues that you may miss. That's the reason I pay attention to YouTube comments. Even though I know how the reactions are going to be for a particular video, you do find those comments. It might be a comment that never gets an upvote, but it's so valuable because it highlights a really big systemic issue that you missed. You know, if I'm talking about a particular issue, like I talked about the core issues of Warhammer 3 just a couple of days ago, and someone said, oh, one of the problems is the nouveau. And I don't know if the nouveau is or not a problem, but it's a big point. It's like, let's find out. Is it really? That's something that's how CA should treat that. Not upvotes, not what's popular. Dig through, be in the trenches, see what people are saying, and you will find those gems. You will find people that give you something that can be improved on, but you need the process of developers that know what they're doing, have the mandate, have the resources, understand their game, play their game, are very experienced with the game. Because like there's this disconnect that CA doesn't necessarily understand their game. One of the things to avoid is designing things based on Discord or Reddit or something like that. That's actually one of the chief flaws of Pharaoh, because it feels like with Pharaoh, they were listening to people, and in a way they kind of based it on, you know, some popular mods. It doesn't matter what those mods are. You know, I like Radius. I wouldn't want Total War to be designed based on Radius, because Radius is a mod. It's appealing to a certain audience. If you go down that path, you're only going to appeal to that audience, and it's going to be a small audience. That was the chief mistake, from my view, that the Pharaoh developers made. Now, beyond under-resourced, underdeveloped, you know, limited development time and all that, the big mistake, the big decision that they made that ended up poorly for them was listening to the wrong feedback, you know, working on community and engaging. How you engage with a community is important. Engaging in the first place is very important. How you engage in it, how the process works, what kind of feedback you're listening to, trying to figure out, okay, what's worth tackling, what isn't, what can we do, what can we not do. That is what I think CA needs to deal with. This is going to take time. The Ghostcrawler example, Ghostcrawler was hired when Blizzard was reaching its peak. CA doesn't have that. So this will not solve the firestorm. But this is about preventing issues going forward and gradually improving things in a very substantial way. So they need that process. They need a team of people, not just one person. A person might be a public face, but that person, like Ghostcrawler, had an entire fucking team behind them. He was in charge of that team. That would be a way of improving things. That's my view. I'm sure many people would disagree. But one of the things I would say, a lot of the times if you make an argument, oh, factions should be like this or issues should be resolved, you're going to end up in circular arguments. You're going to end up in the trenches of Reddit. You're going to end up in the upvoting, downvoting wars of Reddit, Discord, YouTube, etc. Feedback is valuable, but not because of how popular or unpopular it is. Costin, signing out.